Hello and welcome to the PC Gaming Vortex. My name is Hikaro and I am joined today by Gallows, and this is going to be our Need or Greed coverage of the game Mercenary Kings. Now, for those of you that might not know, Need or Greed is a system used in MMOs to cover the loot system. So the basic concept is something that is considered a need is something you absolutely have to have. This is something you're going to put on right away. It's something your character is going to use right away. It is needed. Something that's considered a greed, it's got value, but it's not something you're really jumping up and down for. You're not running with your wallet open kind of thing. It's just something that would be nice. So today we're looking at Mercenary Kings. Mercenary Kings takes some concepts from a lot of other games and puts them together. Immediately you can see that it has kind of a Metal Slug look to it. And then as you dig deeper, you find that it has crafting systems and different layers of RPG elements in there. I like to consider this game, if you took a side-scrolling Metal Slug type game and a Monster Hunter style game and you shoved them together into one. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in here. So when it comes to my pros for this game, the crafting system is absolutely at the top of the list. Your weapon is customizable. So each piece of your weapon can be built to modify it into something that you want it to be. A lot of customization there, and it really adds to the replayability and the longevity of the game, in my opinion. The retro Metal Slug game style, if any of you are from the generation that played a lot of the Neo Geo, or if you played any of those retro games, this absolutely has that feel and that look to it. It even has some of the humor from the original Metal Slug games, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. And the playability of this game absolutely comes down to the co-op. The multiplayer co-op in this game is the best I have seen in quite a few years recently. It is literally drop-in, drop-out style co-op with your crafting and sharing components, going mission to mission, big boss fights. It is a blast. So what are your pros there, Gallows?
Well, I tend to agree with you on most of what you said there. One of the basic pros of the game that I usually try and cover is whether it's got controller support, and it does. And it's probably really important to play. I tried playing it actually both ways, and I just found that with the controller, things just really simplified a lot for me. The controls are very tight. They're very responsive. I noticed that the menus are actually really simple and fairly easy to navigate. Another pro that I really loved about the game is that there's lots to do. I mean, whether it's missions, there's free farm zones, the custom games, like you said, with the co-op exists in the game, and it's just very unique from this retro style gaming that there's so many different options of a more modern game type. The crafting system, like you said, was definitely a pro for me. The fact that there's storage and you've got storage areas and you can keep all these collectibles and save them up or trade them and craft things. And the other real pro that I did notice about this game is that there's lots of different and variety of enemy types. It keeps it really fresh and exciting when you're actually in there. It doesn't feel, a lot of these games have the tendency to get repetitive, seeing the same enemies over and over. And I noticed that there's just a lot of different variants there. So that was something that I thought was very cool to this style of game.
Very cool. Now, when it comes to the cons of this game, I will preface this section by saying this is an early access game. So what that means is it's kind of like a buy-in beta on Steam. It's not a finished product, but it is quite a ways into development. I got this game a good time back, and it has been in development for quite a while. So it's not like it's a huge leap from the final product. But with that being said, the cons of this game, in my opinion, really stick out. And the first one is that the missions get repetitive. While there are a lot of different types of missions, like he had stated, it is rehashing the same areas. So you will jump into a mission to go save 10 prisoners. You save 10 prisoners, and then you take the next mission, which is to kill 15 guys. It starts you on the end where it was the end of the map, and you work backwards. You're in the same spot, doing the same thing, killing the same guys. So it has kind of old school MMO style questing, I guess you can say. where you're doing you have to do 2 or 3 mundane tasks that feel kind of repetitive before you get to some new cool thing like a boss fight or a new concept or a new area. And while a lot of us are really used to that kind of thing when it comes to questing, we've done that in a lot of different games, and you just kind of got to get through the boring ones to get to the fun ones. It is considered a con still in my book. The other aspect of the game is there really isn't a lot showing you how the systems work. So what I mean by that is when it comes to crafting, while it's a very deep system and there's a lot of choices, when you first jump into it, there's a lot of questions that you just cannot find the answers to. Like, what does this stat actually do? And what does this stat actually do? And I'd switch something out and I wouldn't really see a difference. So that could very well be something that's added as a tutorial later on. I would think that would already be on there, but as of right now, that is something that I had some trouble with. I didn't really know where to put points and where to spend money to buy upgrades because I didn't really know what exactly those stats meant. What about you, Gallows? What were your cons for Mercenary Kings?
Well, it's funny that you had mentioned that because that's number one on my con list, is that there is absolutely no tutorial system for an advanced game of this type. I had no clue what I was doing when it came to the crafting, and starts you off with money and options to buy things, and I didn't know what I should buy. I didn't know what was good. I didn't know any of that stuff. So definitely the lack of any type of help or support system there was definitely a con in my book. The other con that I had with this game is that it's not necessarily a con, especially to other people, but that there was time-based missions, and I understand the concept of trying, doing, improving and doing well, but if the game seems pretty tactical in some areas, and if for those tactical kind of players, which I'll include myself in, trying to plan out and to make sure you do it perfectly or things like that, it's just really not designed with a time-based system. You really want you to kind of rush through it and do it as fast as you can, as efficiently as you can. And so for me, that was a con, not necessarily for everybody, but that's just one thing I did want to throw in there. The only other con that I really found with it was that sometimes the environment kind of hid or covered up some of the loot. I don't know if that was just in the areas that I was in. When an enemy was, when I killed an enemy and he dropped some loot, sometimes I noticed that if I wasn't paying very close attention to it, that loot I'd have to just kind of guess, and sometimes I'd get lucky, or sometimes I was just seeing things. But there wasn't a whole lot of or too many cons that I found. I really enjoyed this game, and I think that it had a lot to offer for the style of game that it was. So those are just a few that I had that I noticed, and I don't know, I might be nitpicking a little bit, but wanted to throw them out.
Definitely, it's a unique style game with the amalgamation of the side-scrolling Metal Slug style and the crafting and depth of the RPG systems. And I think that putting those together did cause some overlap and maybe didn't balance perfectly. But I would give this game an absolute need. This game is a blast. It is well made, and I just couldn't imagine after seeing it not owning it. It is a lot of fun, especially if you can get some friends to pick it up with you and play along with them. It's just tons of fun. How about you, Gallows?
Well, I'm in agreement with you there again. I feel that for this style, I mean, this has got to be one of the top for me. It's definitely a need in my book. I think that it just has so much to offer for this style of game that you could not like it. The few cons I think are completely overdone by all the pros that are out there, and so for me it's a need, and I think anybody that does pick this up will probably agree and tend to love it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that's Mercenary Kings. If there's a game that you'd like us to cover, please leave it in the comments below. Also, don't forget to let us know if this game is a need or a greed for you. I'd be very interested to hear that. Have you tried Mercenary Kings, or just by seeing what we've shown you today, does this seem like something you're going to jump out and grab, or is it kind of just a meh in your book? Be very interested to see the opinions. And until then, we will see you next time.